Hello friends, welcome back to Mighty Microbe channel. Today we have came with the topic that is bacterial physiology. In that, definition of metabolism, catabolism, anabolism, respiration and fermentation will be discussed. So first one, that is metabolism. So in simple terms, we can say that metabolism it is a breakdown of food and it is transformed into the energy. So, how this metabolism works? When we eat food, at that time our digestion system starts functioning. This digestive system uses different kind of enzyme to do some of the processes. So, firstly, initial process is breakdown of protein into the amino acids. Then the enzymes they convert these fats into fatty acids, and with the help of this enzyme the carbohydrates is being converted into glucose, that is sugars. So when the enzyme convert protein, fats, carbohydrates into amino acids, fatty acids, sugar, that at that time the body can use them anytime as a energy source, and these compounds are absorbed by blood, which help them in carrying different to different cell for their functioning. So this was the working of metabolism, initial working, how it takes place. So this metabolism it is divided into two major parts. First one is catabolism and second one is anabolism. So catabolism is breakdown of substance and anabolism is build up of substance. Fine. Or we can say metabolism as there is a chemical changes that takes place in cell or an organism. This was about the metabolism. So next is catabolism. So we are going to see in detail about the catabolism, its definition and how it works. So what is catabolism? It is a breakdown of large complex molecule into simple molecules. Fine. So if you take example, when we eat or drink something, the molecules that enter our body, they are large in size. So they need to break down into simple molecule. For what purpose? To give us energy. So through this catabolism process, those large molecules inside an organism they are converted into simple one and release the energy. So this process involves breakdown of large molecules. So which molecules? We can say polysaccharides, lipids, nucleic acid, proteins, and they are breakdown into smaller units. So like that of monosaccharides, fatty acids, nucleotides and amino acids. And this catabolism process it release energy. So some of the example of metabolism includes for catabolism pathway is breakdown of glucose into pyruvate, or another example we can say that conversion of proteins into amino acids, or else conversion of lipid or fats into fatty acids. These are some of the examples of catabolic pathway. So the next point is anabolism. So what is anabolism? Anabolism it is a rebuilding the substance in such a way that we find useful, or else we can say building of complex molecule from simple ones, or synthesizing compounds from simple substance which is required by cell. We can say them as anabolism, the process of anabolism. This anabolic process it requires energy and it also stores the energy. Anabolism it is a enderogenic process, means what? It is not spontaneous, it requires energy to progress the anabolic reactions. So it helps in building complex molecules from simple one. Here the energy it is consumed, that is it needs the input of energy. So some of the example of this anabolic pathway is synthesis of protein from amino acids. Then next is DNA stands from nucleic acid building blocks, they are known as nucleotides, or else we can say the conversion of amino acids into keratin. The next example is conversion of glycogen or starch from glucose molecules. So these are some of the examples of anabolic pathway. So here the detailed definition it is given, how is the anabolic process or what are the example of it. So the next one is respiration. So what we can see about respiration? So respiration it is again a metabolic process which occurs in all the living organisms. Fine. It is also a biochemical process in which it occurs within the cell of organisms. Here the energy is produced, energy that is ATP. It is produced by the breakdown of glucose, that is sugar, which is further used by cell to perform various further functions. So this respiration it is a, if we say respiration is anabolic or catabolic, so the respiration it is catabolic process. Why? Because it breaks the complex organic compound into simple organic compound. For what purpose? For the formation of ATP. Fine. So this was about respiration, how, what is respiration or how respiration process takes place. So the last definition is about the fermentation. So fermentation it is an aerobic process in which energy can be released from glucose even if oxygen is not available. Or we can say like it is also a metabolic process in which organisms they convert carbohydrates, say suppose starch or sugar, into alcohol or an acid but in absence of oxygen. So it is an anaerobic process. This fermentation it occurs in the yeast cells, bacteria, and also in the muscles of animal. So it is an anaerobic pathway in which glucose is breakdown. So the respiration that happens at the minute level in a body via the cell, we called it as cellular respiration. It occurs in absence or presence of oxygen. So any type of cellular respiration which begins with glycolysis, where 3 carbon molecules pyruvic acid is formed as a end product. So there are 3 different types of fermentations. First is lactic acid fermentation, second is alcohol fermentation, third is acetic acid fermentation. Fine. So in lactic acid fermentation, the starch or sugar it is converted into lactic acid with the help of yeast strains or bacteria. In alcohol fermentation, the pyruvate that is end product of glycolysis it is break down into alcohol and carbon dioxides, that is wine and beer, which are produced by alcoholic fermentation. Then the next is acetic acid fermentation. Here the example is of apple cider vinegar. Here starch and sugar which is present in grains and fruits ferment into vinegar. So this fermentation, here the examples are given about the yeast and about bacteria. Yeast it is performed fermentation to obtain energy by converting sugar into alcohol. And the next example is given about the bacteria which perform fermentation by converting carbohydrates into lactic acid. And function is given. What is the main function of fermentation is that during glycolysis pathway, they convert back NADH to NAD NAD so that it can be used again for glycolysis. So these were some of the definition about metabolism, anabolism, catabolism, respiration and fermentation. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe my channel.